Me, Cindy Sadler with Florida Grand Operas. Thank you so much for joining me today. You have a lot on your plate that we're going to talk about today, and very exciting programs that you have coming up this season. But before we start, I need to thank our sponsor, South Florida PBS. As you know, South Florida PBS, love South Florida PBS, WXEL, WPBS, healthchannel.com. They are such a great resource in our community. And if you're a member, you get one of these magazines that tells you all about what's happening. So if you're not a member, I encourage you to join. So let's get started, Cindy. Matrimonio. What is it? El matrimonio secreto.
Very good, yes.
It's going to be in Spanish, sung in Spanish with English subtitles as usual. But you were telling me that it was converted from Italian to Spanish for the South Florida market.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this opera is originally written in Italian.
And it's a comedy, guys.
And it's a comedy. And so a couple of years ago, before COVID, we were planning to do this opera as part of our Made in Miami series. And Susan T. Danis, our general director, had it translated into Spanish by Darwin Aquino and Benedetta Orsi, who are a very cute couple. Darwin is a Dominican. Benedetta is Italian. So they worked together to translate this into what they call Caribbean Spanish or Espanglish. They have both used those terms. I didn't make those terms up. They said it to me. So the idea was to create a Spanish translation with words and phrases that would be familiar to our South Florida communities, because this whole production is really a Valentine to South Florida.
Well, and also when you're doing a comedy, you need to have that. So that's very, very smart of them to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but English speakers will still be able to understand it, because we always have super titles in English and Spanish, no matter what the show is. We're one of the few companies that does that. We always have those.
And of course, this one is exclusively at the Arch Center.
It is at the Arch Center.
Whereas most of your other ones are at both the Broward and the Arch Center.
That's true.
So South Florida. It's going to be a fun show to go to. So we have a couple of pictures, don't we? And videos that we can show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah? Would you like to do that?
So this is rehearsal. This is our director, Elena Areos. And what you see sort of from, let's say, right to left standing is Michael Pandolfo, who is playing Count Robinson. Seated is Vanessa Becerra, who is our Carolina. Carolina Cuervo, who is her older sister Elizetta, Philip Lopez, who is one of our studio artists, and he is Senor Geronimo, the father, and Aaron Alfred, who is playing Aunt Fidalma. And so we're missing a couple of people out of the cast there, but that's most. We're only missing one person. We're missing Joseph McBrayer.
What is the story?
This is a very fun story. So this opera was written in 1792, but we have updated it to 1980s South Beach in the fictional Hotel Paraíso. And Geronimo and his family are immigrants. They have come to South Beach and started a new life here and have a very successful 1980s chic hotel. And they are... he's settled down and he's trying to get his two daughters, Elizetta and Carolina, married off. But what he does not know is that Carolina has already married his employee, Paulino, and they have not figured out how to tell daddy yet. So this right now, what's up now is the whole cast.
Oh, yeah.
So they're trying to figure out how to tell daddy, and in order to keep him from being so angry when he finds out that they went behind his back, Paulino's called up his good friend, Count Robinson, who is sort of a wealthy dude bro, who is nevertheless ready to get married. So he said, sure, I'll come meet this Elizetta. She sounds cool. So he is coming to town to meet her with the idea that they're going to get married. Unfortunately, he likes Carolina better
than her sister.
And he offers Geronimo a deal that he can't refuse so that he could have Carolina, who is already married, instead of Elizetta. Well, Elizetta's mad Fidalma is mad because they both think that Carolina's been a little sneak. They don't know that she's married either.
Right.
Elizetta's feelings are also hurt because the Count doesn't want her. And meanwhile, Aunt Fidalma, who, as you can see from the photos, is a young hottie, she's a widow, she likes Paulino and has decided that Paulino's going to be her next husband. So, which is a big shock to Paulino. So you can see that there are all sorts of situations that happen here. It's an ensemble cast.
Right.
The music is very, very much like sort of a combination between Mozart and Rossini. So anybody who loves the comedies of Mozart, like The Marriage of Figaro or Così fan tutte, will love this music.
This particular one.
Or Barbara Seville, for that matter, which we're doing later in the season.
Oh, yeah, I saw
it has
that,
a lot. The music has some relationship to that too. It's sort of in between, and so it's very accessible. It's very funny. The whole 1980s look and feel of everything is just funny in itself.
Okay, yeah. So actually, we're going to have some banner ads up on our website. So for people that want to book tickets or whatever, they can just click onto that and go to your website and book tickets for it.
Yes.
So and then the rest of the season, got a lot of stuff coming up.
We do. We have great season plans.
So let's talk about what you got. We got coming up right after that.
Right. So Matrimonio is November 12th, 13th, and 15th.
Right.
FGO.org if you want tickets.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's
then
an easier one.
the very next weekend, we have a concert by our marvelous studio artists. Now, if you don't know about our studio artists
I was going to
program,
say, explain about that, because
Okay.
that's pretty cool.
Right. Well, you had them on the show last year.
Yes, I did.
Our studio artists are a group of extremely talented young professionals who come from all over the country, and they go through a vetting process that's very much like America's Got Talent. People come in droves to do these auditions, and they're selected out of hundreds or thousands of people who apply to be part of this program.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when they get here, they're not considered students, they are professionals, and they get to do main stage roles. They also do a lot of concerts, and they do get some training and things like that. So we have two returning studio artists this year, Charlie Collada, who was on your program last year, and Paige Michaels, who is singing Carolina in the Sunday cast. The first two shows are Vanessa Becerra. But anyway, so that's our studio artist program, and they will be doing a concert called Melody Please the weekend after this one, which is the 19th and 20th, or 20th and 21st?
19th and 20th.
Yeah.
You're right.
So they're doing that here in Miami, and they're also doing it up in Broward. And this is a concert, part of our Songfest series, where you not only get to hear some fantastic music, but learn a little bit about that music. And we know that Florida audiences really like to learn a little something about it. So our studio artist manager, Matt Cooksey, will be there. And he's also the one that does our pre-show lectures. He's fantastic, knows so much about these things. So Melody Please is about contemporary music and talking about, how we find the melody in that. Some people feel like, they don't like contemporary music because they don't really understand it. But as we all know, the more you learn about something, the more, familiar, we appreciate it. And there actually is quite a lot of melody in contemporary music. So they're going to do a little lecture about that. They're going to do some selections from a bunch of different modern pieces. And it'll be just a really good, fun time. So that is the weekend following this one.
Yeah.
And then our next show coming up is one of the hardest to pronounce for American audiences.
Scoochie?
I love to hear people try.
Skooky.
It's Johnny Skiki.
Skiki.
Yeah, it looks like Skichi, or
but that's what it looks like.
But the Italian Johnny, it's just Italian for Johnny, and Skiki rhymes with squeaky.
Skiki.
And
Skiki.
then
That's good.
So that is Puccini's only one-act comedy. It's his only comedy, period. And then it's paired with a contemporary sequel called Buoso's Ghost. And Buoso also looks like it might be pronounced Buoso or Buoso or something like that, but it rhymes with bozo, Buoso. And this is also a very, very funny set of
two
operas.
one-acts.
Two one-acts. It's a double bill.
Yeah.
So
Skiki, both comedies.
Both comedies, very much so. Skiki is, and they're both based on true stories. Well, the first one is anyway. Johnny Skiki was a real person.
Oh, he was.
He was, and he annoyed Dante
Oh,
and is consigned to the eighth circle of hell in Dante's Inferno. And this opera makes mention of that. So,
oh, really?
so as it turns out, Dante was married to one of the Donati family, and that's who Johnny Schicchi tricks. I'm not going to go into the whole story right now, but he is called in as a lawyer to help with the will, and the Donatis are not very nice people, at least in this play. I don't know what they were like in real life, but in this play, they are scheming relatives who are trying to rewrite their Uncle Buoso's will because he left all the money to the church.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So Schicchi is called in, and they're very snotty, they're very snobby. They don't like him. He doesn't like them, but he ends up helping them out and helping himself as well. And then in the sequel, Buoso's Ghost, we find out how it was that old Uncle Buoso died. And then we have a sort of repeat of circumstances, different set of circumstances, but the same sort of idea that the Donati family is trying to get something they're not entitled to, and Schicchi prevents that, and he ends up enriching himself and his daughter and Ranuccio, who's the son of the Donati family that wants to marry Lauretta. So anyway, it's a very funny. Michael Ching, the composer of Buoso's Ghost, will be here conducting.
Oh, how fun.
And we will also have a concert associated with that where he is going to play the piano and discuss his compositions, and have some of the studio artists are going to perform. So it's a fantastic opportunity to find out more about, I mean, how often do you get to see a composer conduct his own music in an opera these days, or get to sit in and listen to somebody talk about his career? Yeah. So that is going to be our next
What a great
set.
opportunity. Yeah, for anyone. And is that going to be a ticketed event, or?
Yes, they're all ticketed events. You can find out, you can book them right now, fgo.org. Mm-hmm. All our tickets are up there, and single tickets are on sale right now.
Oh, great.
So, yeah, and that's going to happen in January. That's Schicchi opens January 28th. But
for anybody that loves opera, that sounds like a great Christmas present, doesn't it?
Tickets are the best gift because it's a gift of an experience.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you haven't tried anything before, especially if you haven't gone to opera before, Matrimonio Segreto or Schicchi would be a fabulous first experience because they are shorter operas. Mm-hmm. They're very funny. They're very accessible. Mm-hmm. I mean, even if you don't speak the language, you will understand what's going on.
Right.
Especially in Schicchi, which will be sung in Italian. Buoso's Ghost is actually sung in English. It was composed in English and will be sung in English.
Oh, interesting.
But the Italian will be sung with Spanish and English super titles. And it's a great first experience because they're both one acts are like a little over an hour a piece, like maybe 75 minutes a piece.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the running time is on El Matrimonio Segreto, but it's like maybe 2.5 hours, something like that. Yeah. So it's a great experience.
Yeah.
Go out to dinner, come to the opera.
Oh, and going to the Arts Center. Yeah. That's just such a wonderful place.
It's a beautiful space. Yeah.
To see any performance, but in particular opera. Yeah. So then after that, we have Tosca.
Yes, we're going to have Tosca, which is one of the most popular, another Puccini opera. This is a big Puccini season.
Yeah.
One of the most popular, dramatic, beautiful operas that we have. And of course, we have beautiful costumes, beautiful sets, everything that people love about the grandeur and splendor and sumptuousness of opera, both visually and musically. That's Tosca.
Yeah. And then after Tosca, the Barber of Seville.
We're ending up with the Barber of Seville, which is
everybody loves.
Everybody loves. It's Rossini's most popular comedy, and everybody knows the tunes from it, whether you know it or not.
Exactly. Oh, that's where it's from?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh, that's great. So one of the things that most people probably don't know about you, you're contralto, right?
I'm a contralto, yes.
So, and you're also the founder of, explain it to me again.
I'm the founder and director of Spotlight on Opera, which is a summer training program for singers. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be our 16th year. And we are located on the Centenary College of Louisiana campus in Shreveport, Louisiana.
In Shreveport.
Yes.
Man, I used to go to Shreveport all the time on
Did
my way
you?
to Longview, Texas. Yeah, my grandparents lived in Longview.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, right. So yeah, but Shreveport. So I know Shreveport. Oh, that's great. So how do you manage that? Because you're here and you're there.
I am so lucky. You know, I just completed my first year anniversary here at Florida Grand Opera. And when Susan Danis hired me, she knew I actually sang at Florida Grand Opera back in the day.
I thought you had. Yeah.
Yeah, I performed in Romeo and Juliet in 2014. And that was the same time that Susan came on as general director, although we did not know each other then. The funny thing about that is she had previously been at Sarasota Opera, and right before I came to Florida Grand Opera to sing, I was at Sarasota Opera performing.
Oh,
So,
you just
so I
missed
had
each
a
other.
whole season basically in Florida, which was
You're
great.
right.
But yeah, so when she brought me on, you know, she knew about my background and she knew that this was something that was really important to me. And fortunately, it takes place in the summer. So
Yes, that's
that's not
perfect.
the big time for opera companies. You know,
Right.
we don't run a
Exactly.
summer season. So she very generously allows me to work remotely during that time so I can do both.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So, how many people participate in that program? How do they find out about it? Do you get people from different colleges, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, so pre-COVID, we were working our way up to usually have about 40 students and about 15 to 20 faculty. Not all the faculty are there all the time, but they kind
Right.
of come and go. So, and we did 2 seasons online during COVID. Last year we didn't do it because
Uh-huh.
I was working here and, you know, adjusting and finishing my master's in arts administration. And but we're back live this year, so it kind of
nice.
remains to be seen.
Okay.
As to how many people we would get, I would love to have 40. We have a big season planned.
And how do
And
you promote that? I mean,
we promote it mostly via social media
mhm.
and sending out stuff to colleges and things like that.
Yeah.
So we take anybody basically age 18 and up.
And do
It's
you have scholarships? Do you have
we do
people?
we
How
do have some
how does that work?
scholarships. We do have some
Yeah.
scholarships. And we're getting our first big sponsorship this year. So
Yeah.
we've just started a concert. Well, we did the concert before, but it is now the May Frances Dole's Memorial Opera in Concert, and we're doing Madama Butterfly.
Oh my
And
goodness.
May Frances was a local legend in Shreveport, is a big art supporter,
Right.
and her goddaughter happens to be our chief development officer. So I, after May Frances had passed away, and then I just said, let's do this concert. We always end with this concert. Let's make it a memorial concert for her.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
we're excited. We're going to be doing that, and that's our major fundraiser for the year. And
Oh,
yeah, if anybody
nice.
wants to know about it, the website is spotlightonopera.com, and that's the application and everything is there.
Oh my goodness. So it's going to be Madame Butterfly. Butterfly?
That's
Yeah.
our finale. We're also doing Johnny Schicchi
Okay.
and Suor Angelica, which is another Puccini opera that's often paired with Johnny Schicchi, and we have lots of concerts and other things too.
I think my very first opera was Madame Butterfly with my grandma.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people love
And I
it.
still remember it.
Yeah, and I think now that I know more about Matrimonio Segreto, that is something I would consider doing at Spotlight, because it's so funny. It is so the music is so accessible. It's
Right.
lively. And the idea of updating it to the 80s is genius in my opinion. And the way that came about was Susan Danis was sitting in a beauty salon having her hair done, and there was this Cuban family bridal party
Uh-huh.
with all the ladies getting ready for this wedding, and so, you know, she couldn't help but overhear, you know, what was going on, and it became obvious at some point that the bride was feeling a little overshadowed by a couple of the other ladies there, like realizing that maybe they were prettier than she was, and there was
Right.
some sibling rivalry going on in that, and
Oh, interesting.
Susan noting that and having this creative, imaginative brain that she had, immediately thought about Matrimonio Segreto and thought, well, we could do that. We could update this to to modern day Miami.
So people would identify,
Exactly.
especially
Because
the
there's a
South
lot of
Florida. You're right.
yeah,
That's
there's
why
all
the
this
South
sibling
Florida.
rivalry and stuff
Yeah.
that goes on in here too, very much so. And she made that connection, and then she got Crystal Manich who is a Puerto Rican creative stage director. And she was originally going to direct this, and Crystal kind of filled out the concept. Susan put her together with what she likes to call her Cuban posse. She got this group of ladies who were, from all walks of life, all different ages, and they spoke with Crystal extensively, and Crystal asked them questions because herself being Puerto Ricana, she did not want to presume to speak for
the entire Cubans,
or for
for
the whole
Hispanic market,
Hispanic and Latin market here. So she got these ideas from them, and originally it was supposed to be set in Cayocho. But in the 80s, Cayocho wasn't really Cayocho yet. So they thought a lot about the immigrant experience and how people came here and started their businesses and really turned Miami into what it is now.
For sure.
Because when anybody outside of Miami thinks about Miami, they think about South Beach. They think about those beautiful Art Deco hotels. They think about the sunshine and the ocean and the palm trees and Miami Vice. Yeah, and they really associate it with sort of that 1980s, that was when Miami really became iconic to the rest of the world.
For sure.
So the idea of setting this in the 1980s, which is such a fun era anyway, with the crazy neon colors and the big shoulder pads and the permed hair and
it was a fun era to depict.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it really is. So and I haven't seen too many operas that are set in the 80s. The sets for this are just beautiful. They are. There is a swimming pool on stage. A glass block swimming pool.
No
it's
way.
Amazing. There's a car on stage. There is. It's really, we saw a little bit in the photos. But,
oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really a cool thing. And we have some video that shows the costumes if you want to run that. I don't know if we
do you
have
want to, can you do that? Andres.
This is just a little reel.
Andres is our production guy today. Thank you so much for doing that, Andres. Called in at the last minute.
I think this.
Un nuovo giorno foi amigo mio, scusa un poco, si calmará el fervor, si luego patalea, también patalearé.
Aren't those wonderful voices?
They are.
That was filmed a couple of years ago when we were planning to do it pre-COVID, and Nathan Maddox and Rafael Porto, who were two of our studio artists at the time, and now are out there making their careers. But so what we just saw was a clip between Geronimo, who was the first one who sang, and Count Robinson, the second one, in which Geronimo has just learned that Count Robinson does not intend to marry Elizetta. And now he's really angry. Geronimo is angry. He said, look, you came here. You said you were going to marry her. We have a contract.
Oh, right.
And Robinson's saying, just calm down. Just listen to me a little bit. Just listen. Because you're going to like what I have to say. And what he's about to tell him is, I want to marry Carolina. I'm still going to marry one of your daughters. And not only do I want to marry Carolina, but I want to marry her so badly that you only have to pay half the dowry that we agreed upon. So he's offering him a 50% discount if he gets to marry the daughter he wants to marry.
Oh my gosh. Now, in the meantime, you've got another person that's in love with the Count.
In love is a strong word, but Elisetta would like to be a countess. Let's put it that way.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's not so much she needs to.
No, she doesn't need.
She wants a title.
She wants the title. She wants the position. She wants to be able to lord it over her sister.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
so you can understand why she would be angry that her little sister not only is getting married first, but the guy with all the money and the title wants to marry
The
her.
other sister.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh, how fun! This sounds like such fun one to go to. So, tell me what else is on the agenda? You've got your what about your students that you're doing right now, or the people that you have that are what they call them, your in-house singers?
Oh, those are our studio artists.
Those
yeah.
the studio. I never remember what you call them.
That's okay.
Studio artists. Yeah.
So here's the really cool thing about this opera too. Almost all the characters are played by our studio artists. We have 3 principal artists who have come in, and that's Vanessa Becerra, Catalina Cuervo, who is a local favorite. She's a Colombian-American singer who lives here in Miami, and she has appeared with us before as Frida, the title role in Frida, and also has done our Zarzuela concerts a couple of times. And then we have Michael Pandolfo, who last year was one of our studio artists.
I met him.
Yes.
Yeah, he was here last year.
Yeah, so he is now back as a principal artist singing Count Robinson. And the rest of the cast is made up of our studio artists. So they're getting to jump right in, right into the fire as soon as they get here with this principal roles on the main stage. And then there's an alternate cast on the Sunday matinee, which is our other 2 soprano studio artists, Ashley Shalna and Paige Michaels, and they will be singing Elisetta and Carolina and Elisetta on the Sunday matinee.
But the men are going to be the same.
The men are all the same, and Aaron Alford is the same. So there's 2 people switching out.
Right. Oh, that sounds like just an amazing opportunity for these studio artists, right?
Yes, it is. And they will also be making up the majority of the cast for Johnny Skiki and Buozo's Ghost.
Oh, great.
Which is both of which are other ensemble operas. No chorus, but there's more roles in there. And so the whole studio will be involved in that.
How fun. Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that. And by the way, if you come to some of my events upcoming, you have kindly offered to give us some tickets that we can raffle off or offer as prizes. We have I told you I have Gringo Bingo coming up. Everybody knows we do Gringo Bingo. Coral Gables Women's Club's Gringo Bingo shares proceeds every month with a different charity. And we're sharing the proceeds this time with the Alzheimer's Walk, which is the weekend that you're doing this Matrimonio Secreto. So you can do both. We have the walks in the morning at FIU Football Stadium, as I recall. And but our Gringo Bingo is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at Clutchburger. So if you want to RSVP, it's Gloria at cnews.net. And I see that we only have 1 minute left, and I think there's a show after our show, so we have to wrap it up. But thank you so much for coming. I so appreciate everything you do, and what a great resource in our community for people who love opera and just love music in general. You are just an amazing production company and opera company that we are just fortunate to have. Again, thank you so much for South Florida PBS for sponsoring our show. Join South Florida PBS if you're not already a member. Can't go wrong. So until next week, have a good one, and be safe, be fun, and be kind to each other. Vote tomorrow.